I wanted to talk a little bit this morning about things we could do with stopping. So, a lot of the content that I look at and a lot of the things that I consider when I'm doing some growth work or some healing work will be okay, I need to change what I'm doing, which is awesome. So, we start doing these new things, but frequently that means that we need to stop doing some other things. And the thing that I want to talk about today is relative to making decisions and making choices and shaping your life. So, some of the things we know we need to do, or we learn that we need to do along this path if we're someone recovering from CPTSR, complex trauma stuff, having really difficult incidents happen and not being validated as children. One of the things that we need to, I got distracted by messages coming in. Some of the stuff we learn to do is to begin forming an identity and creating a direction that is more true and more authentic and more based in who we are. Because if we had that kind of childhood growing up, as many of us did, where we didn't learn who we truly are. We didn't learn how to express who we truly are. We weren't given that opportunity. We weren't given that support. And culture, hey, Michelle, good morning. Culture does not support us in this either. So this is not something I would advise long term. But it's a practice that I've done. And, have you... There we go. Oh, you want to come in? I'm not sure you mean this, Michelle. You've sent me an invitation to come in live with me. Send me a message as to whether you actually do want that. I'm going to invite you in and we'll see. Okay. Declined, yeah. I thought that might have been an accident. You're welcome to come on and talk with me one day. I'd love that if you're willing. That would be great. I'm talking this morning about things that we need to stop doing when we're doing particularly intensive healing work. And one of the things that I believe we need to take a break from when we're trying to establish more clarity around our own desires and what we want. And you see a lot of this in the coaching material. Know who you are and just be your own best friend and go for it and go for it and go for it. And that's great. And one of the challenges to doing that is then running around seeking advice from other people. So this will be a common thing that if you're someone coming from a background of childhood trauma or codependency and you don't know yourself and what you want very well, when you're beginning to try and assert this and move around the world and begin to create directions that feel more in line with what you truly want in your heart as you begin to know yourself better, there might be a little reflexive habit or action to check with others. We're so used to doing that. I better go get an opinion. I better go get some advice. And then we might get it from many sources, and it might all be different and confusing, and none of it is from us. So I'm doing a bit of intensive work at the moment. Actually, I've gone back into a program around some of this work, and I've gone on an advice fast, an opinion diet. So I am not seeking other people's opinions about the choices and decisions and things that I am beginning to know on a deep intuitive level that I want for my life. And one of the things I think that makes it hard is that people will offer you their opinions unsolicited. So there's a lot of unsolicited advice. If you begin to talk about what you're doing and what you're working on and what you want, even with trusted, beautiful people that love you, and a lot of this often is coming from probably a blend of love and fear. So a sense of wanting to protect you if they perceive that perhaps some of the things that you're saying or doing are fearful in their view of reality. And so they will offer you advice. And what I have learned to do with this one, so I think it becomes uncomfortable because people feel like, oh crap, if I'm not seeking advice and then it comes at me, what do I do then? Like I have to say, no, don't talk to me about that. And that is actually one option. I will give you two options that I think it's possible to practice. So if, how can I, this is a tricky one. If you can see also that the other person is becoming a bit agitated. So the trick here is to do your practices that retain your own internal calm and balance. So if this opinion that's coming at you triggers you, you're just going to have to deal with that first. But if it's not, if it's like, you know what, that's cool that you think that, but I don't I don't need your opinion and I don't really want your opinion, if that's the little loop that's inside your head, you can just say to that person, if you feel really strongly about this and you really want me to follow your advice, I respect that. That's great. But I'm not going to talk to you about this anymore. And you can just set a very firm boundary. And if they're like, no, I don't want to, you can go on, whatever. The second option, I've forgotten the second option because I'm getting distracted with watching my neighbors. Oh yeah, second option is to let them speak. So I am someone that does believe usually in being very open to lots of different perspectives and then taking them and considering them for myself. So what I tell myself in a moment like that, if I can see the person's really passionate and really getting into wanting to share whatever it is because it means something to them, and I'm not particularly bothered in that moment, I can just say, oh, cool, I'll just store this for later. I let them speak and I listen, but I set an internal boundary like that. Okay, I'll come back to this. So it's not something that I have to necessarily consider or worry about in that moment. But in the future, at some point, if I'm reconsidering this thing and I want to draw upon sources of information from people that I do trust and respect and value, then I can bring it back then. That actually helps, to be honest, with not having that moment of activation arise when someone's coming at you with unsolicited advice, because it's an opinion drenched world at the moment, and we live in a culture that doesn't, or the whole globalized Western culture that I'm referring to, that doesn't support people in really coming to a place of learning and understanding who they are and becoming fulfilled within the collective in that way. So all of these things that we need to do, they're quite, if that's what we want, if that's what we're seeking for our lives, they're quite challenging, they're quite difficult, and they require a lot of practice. And this one is, I've got to be honest, it's fairly advanced level practice. As soon as you begin to interact with others and manage any reactions in yourself in relation to your interactions with others, you've got multiple internal processes that are going on that you need to be aware of and to manage. And so a mindfulness practice, some sort of mindfulness practice is, in my opinion, essential, because we need to become able to be aware of those internal conversations, assess those internal conversations, and make an assessment about how we're going to act as a result of considered processing, not a reaction. Anyway, hope that was interesting. Hope that was helpful. And I will say goodbye to those of you that are live. Great to see you, and have a wonderful day. Bye bye.